Hi. Think about what you're doing. Think about what we're doing right now. Focusing our attention. And in particular, I want to focus our attention on a process, an activity we all share. By focusing on an activity that we all share in the physiology of being Homo sapiens, we can utilize this activity to act as a bridge to another step in the direction that we're heading towards being mindful and being in a meditative state. Regardless of how one is beginning this journey today, allow yourself to just be calm, to be comfortably seated or standing up or leaning, laying down, a comfortable posture for yourself where you can remain alert, I think, is the important aspect of your posture, and be able to maintain a sense of focus, that you're not fidgeting around because there's a rock underneath the blanket that you're laying on, for instance, or sitting upon, or under your foot. That you have done your best to be comfortable and to be undisturbed, that someone's not yelling in your ear or trying to get your attention, but rather that you can focus and concentrate on what we're doing. This is just basic, right? This is just common sense. I like to think that everything that we're doing is common sense, but this certainly is common sense to, I think, all of us. So we're going to be doing that right now. This activity that we're talking about, and it's more than one, we're going to be talking about several, because sometimes people come to meditation practice with a lot on their mind already. Maybe the end of the day for you. And that's often why people speak about beginning your day in your meditation practice, that you have an opportunity to visit with yourself and the universe with an unfettered mind, with one as clear and open as possible. And again, that makes common sense too. But let's assume that you've done that already today, and you've already had an interesting, a wonderful day, or a difficult day, or a day with many transitions of many different kinds of feelings. And so let's assume that it's clouded, and there's a lot of different thought trains that are going on. We want to focus on an activity. Well, again, now, even within this context, this is great that I'm saying this, but what does that mean for us? Because if you're in Ohio and I'm in Puerto Rico and someone else is in Bangkok and someone else is in Mumbai and somebody else is in London, then what is it that we're going to share that we have a common knowledge of? And that's our own physiology as Homo sapiens. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. Whatever we can with a sense of commonality, with a sense of common sense. You will find that for thousands of years, if you do a little research, different people have been talking about breathing techniques as a means of focusing one's attention, of helping to clear and clarify one's mind. I agree with this thought. While you're sitting comfortably and undisturbed, you should be thinking about your breath, or I invite you to think about your breath. At the same time, because I know that you're a capable human being with an interest in this because you're listening, focus also upon your pulse. And if you're not sure what I mean by your pulse, which I know that most of you do, but nonetheless, we're talking about the beating of one's heart, one's heartbeat, one's pulse that you can feel in your extremities or in your chest. You can feel your heart squeezing, circulating blood through your vascular system. Please follow your breathing, and please follow your pulse. So those are two processes of our bodies that we can utilize to further our focus on something that we have in common. because each of us is going to have unique experiences in our days with our own unique perceptions. If I said to focus on what we did this morning, then everybody would have a different answer. This way we all have the same process in mind: breathing and pulsing. We notice when we're breathing that we breathe in, of course. We've done it all around 15 or 20,000 times a day for every day that we've been alive. And we know that the basic process involves breathing in and retaining our breath, or pausing our breath when we reach the top of our inhale. And we know that after a certain period of time elapses, that there's a desire to exhale our breath. Chest falls or our lungs contract. And then we pause again as we're coming to terms with the fact that we're satisfied that we've exhaled enough air out of our lungs. And then we begin this same process again. We inhale, we pause, we exhale, we pause. We're evolving around just this practice of being aware of one's breathing. There's quite a wide breadth of literature, of commentary, of technique, of different exercises that one can utilize to enhance this process. And that's all fine. I recommend that you, if you're interested, to read about some of these different things. The Chinese have some ideas. Indians have ideas. Across the board, everyone has their own opinion, as do I. I personally like a Hindu breathing technique called Ujjayi pranayama breathing. Ujjayi pranayama is a technique where you breathe in long and slow. You pause at the top of your breath, and you exhale through your mouth rather than your inhale, which you do through your nose. And you sound your breath, being that you make a sound like awe. I choose awe because I like to be in awe. Just for the sake of following my advice for this particular breath, let's do it. So breathing in long and slow, pausing at the top, and now breathing out with an awe. And pausing at the bottom of one's exhale and beginning again. Now you can just go revert back to just breathing long and slow. You don't have to say "oh" every time. You may like to, and you're welcome to do that. But the point being is that this is just one of many different techniques. What we're doing by eliciting our awareness on this process of respiration is that if we were conscious of other things that are going on in our lives a little while ago, we're now focused more on our breathing technique. So maybe we've allowed a few other things to fade or be put aside for a while. This is the concept that we're talking about. This could be a definition of focus, of one's paying attention to something. And then similarly, when we're talking about one's pulse, if we're thinking about the pulse of our body and we're wondering where our pulses might be, you might have a difficulty of even finding your pulse if you're just sitting there quietly and not moving around very much. Your hands are at ease, together or on your sides. You may not even notice that you are pulsing. And this is okay too. You can take a couple of fingers from your one hand and put it on underneath the thumb on your wrist of your opposite hand and press down gently, and you can feel your radial artery, and you'll feel the pulse of your heart by the time it gets down to your hand right here. So do that right now too, just for the fun of it, just because we're playing here. And allowing yourself to feel it for a moment or two, right? A few moments. You can even feel the pulse changing its speed after a minute or two, it may be slowing down as you become a little more calm and a little more comfortable of your ability to do this. And breathe at the same time with a sense of awareness. So you're breathing, you're pulsing, and you're becoming more calm and focusing your attention and your energy on these two physiological processes which are paramount for us, right? We have to breathe. As I said, we breathe 15 to 20,000 times a day. I didn't say this, but I'll say it now. We pulse, our heart beats about 90,000 times a day. So think about that for a minute here. Between these two, we're talking about more than 100,000 opportunities to be aware of our physiology, which most of us don't do. Most of us take these processes for granted. So this is something to think about in itself and what this means. Being aware of your breathing, being aware of your pulsing is a technique to elicit a focus and paying greater attention to one's physiology. There's a third that I feel is important to bring the first two together, which is feeling that you are alive. Of course, you already have a semblance of this because you're feeling your chest rise and fall. You're feeling the air as it enters your nostrils or your lips and as you expel it from your nostrils or lips as well. Maybe you feel it as it goes up and down your throat. So you already have this physiological feedback. Similarly, with the pulsing in your body, as we felt underneath the wrist on our opposite hand, we could feel the pressure of the blood circulating through this radial artery as it's pushing against the skin and then pushing against the fingers that are pushing gently down. With a little bit of greater attention or with a little more practice, you begin to feel these elements occurring more and more often in different places. Maybe behind your eyes or in your cheeks or maybe in your toes or your feet or your fingers or your hands or your limbs or maybe in your chest itself, in your heart. Everywhere. Your body is circulating this life-giving oxygenated blood that's being converted in your lungs from atmospheric oxygen into oxygen associated with your hemoglobin. But what we haven't discussed is that it's the foundation of life itself, these two processes. Without the blood being circulated, your body will soon die. In a few minutes, actually. You need to breathe. And you need your heart to pump this oxygenated blood through your body to maintain the health and the vitality of yourself. You got that already, right? You didn't need me to spend 15 minutes talking about that, did you? No, I know you didn't. And that's okay. Bear with me. What you may have a reluctance to do is to consider the following: that your body is vibrating with life energy, that you are a current of energy that is circulating much more rapidly than 90,000 times a day or 15 or 20,000 times a day. It's occurring spontaneously all the time, millions, if not billions, if not trillions of times a day. This is what we're getting to now. So this is the third process. The third process is you or I. It is the process of life itself. This is what we're talking about now, is that we have three different processes that, putting them together, most usually can help us coordinate our thinking in a positive, attentive, energy-focused manner. This is what we're getting at. And this is what is the basis for our next step, which we're not going to be doing today because we're already well into our amount of time that we want to spend. Oh, I want you to think about your breathing, about your pulsing, and to be attentive to beneath these processes. Feel your body tingling. If you're not sure, accept and allow your body and your mind to consider the possibility. Maybe something like this is going on. And pay attention to this. See if you can find, without needing to go to anywhere specifically, that your body is vibrating. There's a sense of activity everywhere. This is our goal for today. This is our, second step. The first step in the meditation process that we enumerated was comfortable posture, undisturbed. And now we've gone to reviewing our physiological processes of breathing, pulsing, and shimmering. I like to call it shimmering rather than vibrating. And that's our second step. So we've done these two. And I'm going to call it a day right now. Okay? You have a nice day. And tomorrow we'll take up from there. Or later today. We'll see.